Hello everyone. We begin with the black pieces against Oxide, who plays c5 on move 1. We're going to push past this and gain space. Okay, now we're going to push e4 in the center. He's going to go for the fianchetto, but right now he develops a knight and attacks our center. We're going to develop and defend. He tries to break down our space gain in the center, but if he takes, we can just take and maintain it. So I'll develop the bishop instead and pin the knight. He develops and breaks the pin. I'll develop my knight towards the center. He takes the pawn in the center. If we take the pawn and he takes, my bishop is hanging. Although he has a pawn, I get a pawn. He's up a pawn, I'm up a piece, it's even. I'm up a piece, it's even. I fork him. I'm going to take his pawn. I don't believe in his tactic. Neither does he. He just castles, which avoids the fork, but the rook is still trapped in that line, so do I ever take that knight? I want to get this guy over here, but that would block the defense of the pawn one time. So let me develop a piece, prepare castling, get away from this rook attack. He hits the bishop, but I don't buy that he's going to push the pawn further. I don't believe him. I also don't think it's that good, so I'm happy to see it. I'll have pressure on his backwards pawn and his king will be weak. I'll hit it with h4. So I don't think he should do that. So he just retreats the knight and offers a trade of bishops. It does weaken his pawn a little bit. Okay. Right now my bishop's hanging. I'm inclined to retreat and keep the pressure. He can't do something like bishop f6, which otherwise looks really nice, because he has to protect his weakness. So he goes for my king. I should definitely get out of the way. And now my king is super safe. He goes for the fianchetto, which I just said he can't go for because of his weakness. In order to justify that, he'll probably take this, ruin our pawn structure, and then move his knight out of the way, hitting our bishop and the pawn behind it. We'll take the knight to get the turn back, and then we can defend our central pawn. Okay, so all in all, I'm going to take this. And I think, I think it's more of just a blunder on his part. Okay, he doesn't go down any of that. He just plays b6, cementing his other pawn, opening up his bishop, and admitting the loss of his center? What? Okay. He's weakening his light squares. But I don't like where my bishop is. I don't want to take his knight. I should just move it back. Let's move it back to safety. I definitely don't appreciate that x-ray, so... Okay. So now he moves his knight, attacks our bishop, our knight, pressures the pawn. We want to keep our bishop, of course. So this looks like a good opportunity to trade his knight for our knight. His was more active in the center. And we're up a pawn. So now he challenges our bishop, giving us another opportunity to trade pieces. However, this one, although I do want it, I feel like I'm going to get it no matter what, because he's not just going to go back, because why'd he go here? He wants to trade. There's a weird move, f4, but then he gives a check. You move your king to the side, and f4 just blocks my bishop. I think I want to move my rook to the side, so that no matter what he does, I can also get a rook trade, and the only thing left will be unmoved pieces for him. He takes the bishop. I feel like I'm going to get the rook trade also, whether I want, either way. Let's throw it in so his queen's not pressuring our center. Now we'll take the bishop back. And by not taking his bishop immediately, you gave him the added possibility of doubling your pawns by taking the knight, but then you have the only bishop and it would have been too strong. So he moves his king to the side. I'm happy to see a move like that when you haven't moved your pieces. Moving your king makes no sense. I want to develop my queen, but I want a rook on e1. So if I bring my queen out, it's not supporting e1. I might have to go king f1. I could just lift the queen up one, but I feel like queen f3 makes more sense. I can hit the queen this way, but he can block. Knight here, he can block. I need to develop. Queen h5. A little too fancy. Although here, fianchetto. I just cover the diagonal, maybe. Alright, whatever. I'll lift it up one just so I can get the rook here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to spend a move on king f1. If I'm going to have to spend a move anyway, I might as well be with my queen. So, I mean, you could argue king f1 gets it closer to the center for an endgame, but right now queens are on the board. So he moves his queen in front of his bishop, looks at the pawn, and gets away from the rook development. But I'm going to do it anyway. It's the most active move, probably. Okay, he's going for piece trades, but I'm up a pawn, so I love seeing this. Down to 3 minutes, might as well just do it. Helps him develop his knight, but maybe I shouldn't do it because of the knight. Yeah, I guess I'll just leave it there. But then I have to improve some other way. Can I bring this rook anywhere? Huh. Okay, maybe I do avoid it. I mean, trades are definitely good for me, but this diagonal's super weak. And it's just really awkward for him. I could park this here now. I think this is a great, great, great throne for the bishop. He now finally opens up his rook. Fair. But now I can move my knight, finally. So let's get it in the center, and now we can cement this way, shut his bishop out. First, he has to move the queen. Maybe, oh, okay, he goes forward, but that's into our rook. So do we have any cool discoveries? Knight takes pawn. Yeah, that's a cool, I mean, I think that works, right? Why would you go into a discovery, right? Yeah, now his bishop hangs. Why would you go into a discovery on purpose? I said it in, an earlier video a few ones ago that lining up your queen like that, it's never going to end up well. So we do have a bunch of zeros, and although we have no mistakes and no blunders, which is the important thing for sure, we do have 5 inaccuracies, bringing us to 33 cent a pawn and 90 accuracy, which is pretty low for only having inaccuracies, but it also makes sense. Let's go over the game. Um, okay, so you have lots of options when they play c5 on move 1. One of them is the, play a Benoni style where you have more space. So that's what we do. Center, development, development, and center, development, and center, development, and center, force move, development, and center. And so far, everything's normal. I'm just noticing now I never got my knight here and my pawn here, which is usually the setup you go for, or that I go for. But he played it a little differently and hung his pawn right away. So let's see. Okay, force move. It's attacked. Wait, they're saying his best move is here. I was saying I don't believe this tactic works. So if he takes here, what was I calculating? Oh yeah, I was going to take his knight. They say take the bishop, but I'm going to take it. I guess don't take with the queen. So oh wait, no, he's castled here. I was doing this when he turned before. Oh, a couple turns before. Oh yeah, I guess this wasn't the point I was looking at it. Okay, so if he takes it here, yeah, this is a couple moves later. Now they're saying take here. I'll take, you'll take, I'll take, you'll take. And maybe you can get your pawn back. Interesting. He immediately plays a more normal move. And you could take the bishop. But you don't have to. I kind of like bishop g3 as a practical decision. They're the same evaluation, but I think it's harder for black to play when you go down this route. Because he has to move the knight again. You can't put the bishop where you want it. And my position just looks great, and I have nothing to complain about. Okay, so king safety and development. And so, if I go back a little bit, the entire game is playable and even for both sides. Even here when he kicks me and I go back, it's a slight inaccuracy. Even if he did find this and take the pawn, it's still an even playable game for both sides. It still is. And now, after castling, we're slowly starting to creep up a little bit in the evaluation, and we're getting a bigger and bigger lead in development because he has an undeveloped queen side entirely. And the second he moves his bishop, it goes from that creeping up plus 0.7 to plus 1.5 because his pawn hangs. And it's not even the best move. Let's note that it's 4th on the list. So, free stuff, and we're just better. White's just better. It says this is a blunder because of knight b5 immediately. I played the third best move, just bring the bishop back to safety, but knight b5 threatens c7. So knight b5, if he moves his knight somewhere, hitting your bishop with the queen, you still jump in. The queen can't take because you're gonna hit this rook. Oh wow. That just might work move by move, but no thank you, sir. I retreat the bishop because it was hanging. And it's plus 2.5. We trade because we're up a pawn and we have a better position. Now we improve a piece for free. Force move, winning position for white. He does this, which is crazy. Now we improve a piece with clear ideas in mind. Develop, center, +5. There's so many different moves here, it doesn't really matter what you do. You could have traded. Maybe you even should have traded, what might have made your life easier. But I just decided to park my bishop on this little throne square because it looks kind of cool there. Improve a piece for free. And then he just blunders because of the alignment issue. But I mean, it's overall a very solid game where we just gain more space early with this e5 pawn, d5 pawn, and then we just maintain it with pieces, with pawns attacking his stuff that's attacking our stuff. We just keep the pawn there, keep this structure, and as long as we maintain this structure, we'll have a little more space to play with, and he'll have a harder time trying to develop, trying to find any type of counterplay. He'll want to push these pawns on the queen side for some space and some play. But the second you see that happening, you're throwing in a4, shutting him down, and it's just easier to play for white. That's why black doesn't usually play this. So hopefully this helps you when they play the old Benoni. Good luck on your chess. Goodbye.